Welcome to Focus on B, the single-part video series where I take a look at a game that I really enjoy, I really like, and I really want to talk about, but I don't think would be great for my style of Let's Play format. And this is Doom 64 by Midway Games, more specifically the excellent Night Dive Studios remaster. Of course it is, it's Night Dive Studios, released a couple years ago, very early on, and you know what? I have a lot to say about this particular version. Something that almost sounds, and it's going to be very appropriate because the engine the game uses, heretical. You see, get it? Because Heretic is a 1994 first-person shooter that also uses the Doom engine by Raven Software. I mean, the game was developed by them, but id Software made the engine, of course. And in fact, it's actually still running on, well, it's running on the KEX engine, except that I'm pretty sure underneath that it's still called Doom. I don't really know how it works exactly, but basically, if you type in no clip, you can't really clip through the environment. You scale it like you could walk, yeah, what I'm doing right now, except you can do that to everything. So I'm assuming it has something to do with the way that the game renders its environments and whatever. So what's up with this game and what's so heretical about my opinion? Well, I don't know, Chief. I think I actually kind of preferred this to normal Doom, which you're not allowed to say, and I get it because it's different, but the original Doom is absolutely legendary. It is, you know, Wolf 3D, if Wolf 3D is the grandfather of first-person shooters, then Doom is the, I don't know, he's the son who perfected the genre, right? Like Doom, Wolf 3D is a little bit, it's kind of hard to go back to, admittedly, even though it is legendary, but Doom is still fucking fun. In pretty much every way. I've played like almost every version of Doom there is. I've played fucking Jaguar Doom, Super Nintendo Doom, 32X Doom, original Doom, of course, on DOS. I haven't actually played 360 Doom, but you know, it's pretty much the same thing, just with texture filtering and stuff, you know, which actually this has as well, which I've actually remained enabled because it's the N64 version. You kind of can't. What the fuck am I doing? Why am I not punching the shit out of these guys because I got the Berserk earlier, and why am I not using my my shotgun? There you go. It's simple as... Actually, wait. Just use the freaking... How do I... Shit. How do I switch to the chainsaw? Which button is the chainsaw? I have no idea. There it is. Alright, use it on the pinkies. This game's actually very easy. And that's something I wanted to... I fucking died. This game is actually very easy, and I fucking... Alright, let's speedrun it now because I know what to do already. As I said, this game is actually not that hard. I'm just complete trash, apparently. But, here's the thing about this game, right? Because it was initially designed with the N64 controller's limitations in mind. Now, those limitations don't seem obvious. You're thinking, well, it's Doom. You only really need this to play it. Yes, you can configure the remaster to play like classic Doom. As you can see right now, I'm playing it as if I were emulating the original, because you're probably thinking like, wait a second, but you prefer always playing the original versions, right? You're a stickler for that shit. That's true. But this version runs at 60 FPS and in widescreen, so it's better for the video, but my points still stand for both versions of the game, right? Let's try not to get fucking killed this time, because that was actually embarrassing. Like, how did that happen? I know how it happened, because I went into talk too much mode and not play the game enough mode. But where was I talking about? It's just, this kind of game really well, not this kind of game, there's tons of games like this, you know, games that were initially on console, then ported to PC, but I feel especially, that it's especially true with this game, that it really, it puts a spotlight on just how much easier this game is when you have mouse and keyboard, because they knew that they shouldn't make it too difficult. The game is fairly challenging on, well, I play it on the standard, I think it was the Bring It On difficulty, which I think later reappeared in Quake 3, but, you know, like the normal difficulty. I'm not playing it on Ultra Violence or Nightmare, whatever the equivalent would be in this. No, I'm playing it on, like, normal difficulty, if that makes sense, and on Doom, on N64, I've played through, I'm not sure exactly how far through the game I am. I just beat Even Simpler. I'm on the map after Even Simpler now, and so far the game is, well, you know what, it's nowhere near as confusing as I remember it being, for one thing. Because you all know how, you know, mid to late 90s first-person shooters tend to be a little bit convoluted with their level designs, right? That's a generally known fact. Oh, the loading times are so fast. I mean, they're pretty fast on N64 too because cartridges, but let's actually go ahead and save real quick, even though I think I already have a different save game. Screw it, as you can see, it's I haven't played this version much. Again, I've played more of the original N64 version just because that's how I am, but this is better for the video, so I decided to use this version instead. But either way, what was I talking about? Oh yeah, difficulty. So it's, no, the level design actually. So basically, it's true that a lot of games from that time period used to be confusing, but I don't know what the fuck, like, I don't think I just got smarter out of nowhere, but when I first played this game, and it was via this version actually, I gave up on this level. I'm not even kidding. I thought that this level was too confusing to progress through. I don't know, maybe I just gained like an extra brain cell, but now I'm making my way through the game with very, very few problems, with no guide. Just kind of going through, hitting switches, running around, and figuring stuff out. It's really not very difficult. What the fuck? Who just hit me? Oh, you dicks. You're gonna fucking die. Okay. The gore is very well done. So it's interesting that the level design is actually way more intuitive than I initially thought. Like, it's true that if you're just kind of running around and not paying enough attention, like this puzzle, for example, was a little bit of a bitch at first, but then you sort of realize, well, obviously, one of these four is going to, no, 3 of these 4 is going to damage me, one of them is the correct one. It's kind of, it's like the only sort of cryptic puzzle in the whole game, and even then it's not that cryptic. Here's what you do. You look at these doors, you wait a few seconds for them to open up, right? There you go. And you go into this one, and you go real fast, and you pick up the key. Well, what's so hard about that? Then you kill the enemy that spawns, and that's the imp. And now I think it's a good time to talk about the redesigned enemies and redesigned weapons and such. I really love the art direction. I think going into this pre-rendered sort of visual direction was a great move. It makes the game just look so much more polished, because it's, I'm not sure if you probably noticed already, it's a pretty popular fact, but Doom originally used a lot of real physical models that were then, he took pictures and decreased the color depth and such and put them into the game, into the engine. That's how the original Doom figured out its visuals. This clearly uses actual renders of 3D geometry and models and stuff, and it puts it into the game, and it looks fantastic. You know, this was the late 90s, right? By 1997, CG already looked pretty decent, right? It's not to the level that we have now, of course, you know, movie quality, but compared to what we could do in real time at that point, it was pretty damn good. And even average CG was gonna look better than, you know, because I get that id Software at the time, they were kind of working with what they had. They were yet to become the multi-cajillion dollar company that they are now. They became that very shortly, stop doing that, very shortly after the release of Doom, of course, because that game was a huge success. So when they were making it, they probably couldn't afford to like get the top quality movie VFX people to make them actual physical models or renders, right? So they just use these toys, and you can totally tell they do look a little bit a little unpolished, right, the visuals, but they're still charming, they're still good, and the gameplay is great, right? That's really what matters, right? The gameplay in Doom still holds up, and here the gameplay is basically the same. It's just slightly different level designs. Also, I feared that I might die very easily because a lot of the enemies in this game are hit scan, so I might allow myself to cheat just a little bit just for the sake of this video, although I can assure you I actually haven't been cheating that much. I haven't been cheating at all, because on the N64 version, you don't have commands. Oh, you do have cheats on the emulator, but I'm so lazy that I refuse to exit full screen to activate the cheat. Okay, we have full health. Now let's just go. All right, supercharged, great. So I think it's not just the darker atmosphere, because I feel like Doom was always trying to be kind of dark, but because of its inherent, the qualities of its presentation, it made it very difficult for it to genuinely be dark and scary. It can be a little bit jumpy and creepy, admittedly, yes. In fact, when I was a kid, I used to find Doom, weirdly enough, I used to find stuff like Minecraft creepier than Doom. I'm not sure why. Maybe it was because I became desensitized to Doom very early on. I remember also, you know, I was exposed to Wolfenstein 3D very young, so that might have something to do with it. But still, it definitely has a look to it, but I feel that just overall, this game looks more polished, and that goes a long way, because when you're comparing very similar gameplay, just the difference in visuals can tip the scales. Not to say that the gameplay is identical. The flow of Duke Nukem 64 is slightly different to regular Doom. Now on PC here, it is way faster. It runs faster, obviously. Mouse and keyboard makes this shit just easy as pie. You know what I mean? I really do feel like maybe if you're playing this version, you should turn the difficulty up. I haven't because I'm worried that it might fuck up my ability to do this video, but I probably should give the game a shot on a higher difficulty because, like, look at this, I'm just mowing them down. I did die on the first level, but that was just me being an idiot. But when I'm not being an idiot, like right now, hopefully, the greater accuracy of mouse and keyboard just absolutely, even though it did take me quite some time to get used to the fact that you can't look up and down. In fact, you know what? Let's do a little experiment. Let's just play the game with, you know, the arrow keys. Look, because you can configure the game to play as if it were the N64 version again, or as if it were classic Doom. And as you can see, right off the bat, it's changing the way I mean, you can still strafe. That's one difference. Unlike Hexen on N64, which I'm going to do a video on at some point, although not right now because I want to keep the uploads of Focus on B a little more varied. You know, I don't want to do 2 N64 Doom-like shooters. Well, one of them literally is Doom, one after another, right? Because I like to upload them that way. But still, you interact as you normally would. Oh, wait, hold on. No, we're going the wrong way now. I think we have to go this way. No, these enemies are dead. Okay, shit. I think wait, I have the yellow key card. You know what that means? That means we go all the way back. But as you can see, even with limiting myself this way in the way that I control the game, it's actually, I think it's the fact that you have that running toggle, which I don't think you have in the N64 version. You have to hold a separate button down. It gets really awkward. You know, I have reconfigured the controls to be a little more comfortable, but still, funnily enough, that whenever I play quote-unquote like old-school style shooters, and what I mean by that is like shooters built on the Doom or Duke 3D engine, you know, like the ones before Quake and mouse looking around and stuff, I actually like to keep those. Let's just go back to mouse and keyboard now. I actually like to play those by respecting the original configuration of the controls. As in, I like to have my layout on all my emulators to be like, you know, up, down, left, right for the analog stick or the D-pad, whatever it might be. And then I go, you know, maybe if it's like PlayStation, it'll be ZXCS for the face buttons. On Nintendo 64, it would obviously be like Shift for the Z button, and then like Z and X for B and A, and then the C buttons will be, what the fuck just happened? Will be like G, V, B, N or whatever. You know, it just it'll be very physical, as in like the shapes will represent what it is on the controller. And I've decided to keep it that way for both Doom 64 and Hexen. As I said, I'm going to do a video on Hexen at some point, because that game is really cool, but again, it's very much focused on B material. It is not a Let's Play type game. But yeah, so I think those are the 2 biggest reasons as to why I'm starting to prefer this. This feels just like a more polished, more complete package. Of course, it cannot boast the legacy, of course, of the original Doom. The fact that that was the game that it was, and the original Doom is still very fun. In fact, I've played, as I said, I've played many different versions of it now, and damn, I mean, Jaguar Doom is kind of impressive. I mean, like, it runs way too fucking fast, and I couldn't figure out, like, a setting in Big PEMU that is genuinely what the currently best, what do you call it, Jaguar emulator is known as. That is actually how it's called. But yeah, that emulator, from what I can tell, it's having like speed settings, so I can't really slow the game down at all. So that's just how it runs, just way too fucking fast. Which, I mean, I'm not complaining about that necessarily, but still it does run quite quickly, and because of that, the game feels quite a bit trickier. I mean, I swear to God, I couldn't get past the first stage on the default difficulty. I had to turn the difficulty down. Then I decided, just for a little bit of comparison, I played through a Super Nintendo Doom, which was released a full year later on much weaker hardware, and it actually had music which sounded very good, which is really neat. But of course the game doesn't look as good, it runs a little slower, but you know what's interesting is that it in a way feels more playable because it's slower, and the developers knew they couldn't put that many enemies on screen at once because it would make the poor Super Nintendo fucking cry. It's too free something, no, it was like 2 point something megahertz processor where it would just burst into tears. So they obviously didn't put too many enemies on screen, and there's no difficulty select either, so the game ends up actually being more completable, right? Not as playable, but more completable, if that makes sense. I think it's a fairly decent conversion. Like, let's say you maybe you did have a computer when Doom released, but you were too young. I mean, okay, to be fair, if you were too young, your parents wouldn't buy you the game on Super Nintendo anyway because of its subject matter. But, you know, some parents just don't care about that much. They just don't want you fucking with the PC, especially back in the time when computers were like this unwieldy new technology that, like, you mess one thing up and all of a sudden just the whole fucking DOS prompt is broken. You know, I can't say I lived through that time. I was born a little bit too late, but still, I imagine that most parents wouldn't want that. So that's why that would have been the appeal of a console game of that time. Not necessarily because you don't have a PC, but just because, you know, you got a kid and you don't want your kid fucking destroying your work, right? Wasn't that actually the inspiration behind okay, there's this keyboard that LGR did a video on that, like, apparently is peanut butter proof and spill proof and everything. That's like, you know, my first keyboard type stuff. Exactly. And yeah, I think it's a fairly comparable conversion. Of course, if you're a Nintendo guy, you know, you're Nintendo faithful and you only buy Nintendo stuff at that time, going from the original to Doom 64 would be both awesome because of just how, let me go ahead and save actually, just how insanely cool and well made Doom 64 really is. But it might be disappointing because it's not the same game. It's like you wish you can get the same game, but at a better level of fidelity, relatively speaking. But at the same time, you know, always getting a new game is cool. I remember that, at least according to N64 Glenn Plant's video on Quake 64, people were disappointed when it came out because it was just more of the same, like it was just the exact same game. I personally don't mind that too much, and plus we did get Quake 2 out of that, Quake 2 N64, which I'm going to be doing a video on as well. I've got that planned. I've made the thumbnail and everything. But yeah, I mean, I guess if you really wanted, like, if we're talking early to mid 90s best Doom console version, it would easily be the PlayStation version, right? Yeah, it doesn't have the cool metal riffs. I guess if you want something that still has the original soundtrack and runs well, I guess it'd be the 32X version, but oh my god, dude, look away if this is, like, hurting your eyes, by the way, because, like, I know it's not doing great for me right now. What the fuck is going on? Why is that Berserk effect is not supposed to... I think it's just because of the room that I'm in. Hopefully when I get out of this room, it'll stop with the effect, because it's a little bit... Get out. Oh, thank god. Is it gonna keep... Yeah, it just keeps doing it, but I need to go back in, though, because I'm pretty sure there's another set of buttons I have to push. Come on, just die already. Yeah, so the PlayStation version would definitely be the best version, even though 32X does have the music, although it's kind of butchered. It does run quite well, though. I am still very impressed. In fact, I'm going to do another video. I'm going to do a video on, what was it called? Virtua Racing Deluxe, I believe, at some point. I kind of want to do the 32X version. I mean, you know what? No, I might end up just doing the Saturn version, because that is objectively the best one, of course. And there's also, I think there was a PS2 version at some point in some collection that is obviously heavily updated and much smoother, because obviously it's a PlayStation 2 version of a game from like 1994, so yeah, what do you expect? But still, it is... I don't know exactly which version of Doom you would call it. I mean, of course, the PlayStation version, because it is still the original experience with the fewest drawbacks, of course. Although, by the late 90s, I imagine getting Doom to work on your PC wouldn't be that difficult, although actually by then you'd be on Windows. Well, no, actually, because Windows initially had a layer of DOS, I'm pretty sure, so it wouldn't be that big of a deal. Now, where the hell am I going? I'm actually going to be ending the episode soon. It'll probably end before I finish this level. I've got the key card now, though, so now we can go all the way over to... I can't say I remember exactly... Oh, wait, is there a map? Oh, I just hit the M key. There's nothing. But, oh, wait, there you go. There's the Lost Souls, which means that... Of course, the game is... I'm progressing forward, basically. But as you see, the levels really aren't that confusing. And this is coming from me. Like, I am absolutely dog shit at figuring out how to progress in any game ever. If you've seen any of my playthroughs, you'll know I'm infamously... infamous would mean that I have any amount of notoriety, but if you've watched my videos, you'll know I'm just absolutely abysmal at figuring out how to make it through any stage that isn't just a pure straight... Look at that, that's the end, isn't it? Yeah, but like, if it's not a straight line, I probably can't figure it out. But this game is very much not a straight line, and yet it's intuitive. Honestly, the design is very good, and I love the lighting, too. It's just that those tiny things that this game does are enough to push it over the edge for me to kind of like it better. And I know that's not the most popular opinion, but, fuck, I don't know what to do about that. It's like, well, I think this is very polished, very enjoyable. Is this going to beat the level? Yes, it is. Well, I think that's going to actually do it for this episode, because let me tell you, one more level will be pushing this past the point of, like, how long a Focus on B should be. But that's going to do it for this episode of Focus on B. This has been Doom64, the excellent Night Dive Studios remaster, and this has been Focus on B, the single-part video series where I take a look at a game that I really, really like, as you can see, although I don't think it would be a great fit for my Let's Play format. So I'll see you guys next time on Focus on B.